Every year, one running back breaks fantasy football. Not just the top 5 guy. I'm talking the RB1, the league winner. The reason someone in your league gets insufferable by week 7. And if you want to be that guy this year, you better know who actually has a shot. So in this video, I'm breaking down the top 12 running backs currently being drafted in fantasy football and ranking their chances of finishing as the RB1. And at the end, I'm going to plant my flag and make my choice for who I think is going to do it in 2025. Now, before we break down the players or get to my choice, let's kind of go over what needs to happen for somebody to be the overall running back 1. When we look at the last 5 running back 1s in fantasy football, we see a few similarities. Number 1, they've averaged 334 touches the year they finished as the RB1. The only player not to have 300 touches that year was Alvin Kamara back in 2020, but he scored 21 touchdowns. They also averaged 1,960 scrimmage yards, so we're looking for somebody around that 2,000 yard mark or more, and they average 19 touchdowns per year. So no shock here. They touch the ball a lot, they get a lot of yards, they score a lot of touchdowns. Obvious. But what else? Well, we also see the average draft position for these players is 6. That means they were picked 6 overall on average, with the lowest pick being Jonathan Taylor in 2021 at pick 11. So we're looking for workhorse running backs with the upside to rack up a ton of yards, score a ton of touchdowns, and they're being drafted relatively early, which is why I'm breaking this down just the top 12 running backs. Technically, it's going to be the top 13 because I think there's one more guy we got to talk about. And then again, I'm going to rank each one. How do I think they're going to finish as the RB1? And again, at the end, give you my choice. So let's get into the candidates right now, starting with, of course, Saquon Barkley. I mean, not much needs to be said here. This guy was the RB1 last year, well over 300 touches, well over 2,000 yards. Didn't quite hit 20 touchdowns, but didn't really need to hit 20 touchdowns last year. I mean, look, the case for Saquon Barkley being the RB1 again this year is very strong. The only risk here is coming off a historic season. Can he repeat another historic season? That's really the only thing here that would hold him back, and injury, of course. So Saquon Barkley, yeah, it's very rare, if ever, that a guy repeats as the RB1, but he's got a strong case to do it. Next up is Bijan Robinson. Last year, 365 touches, 1,900 total yards, and 15 total touchdowns. Again, I'm going to give him a very strong chance to do it this year. Yes, he needs a little bit more in the yardage and the touchdowns category, but we're talking about an elite talent entering the prime of his career. It's not hard to see him getting even better this year in what should be a better offense with Michael Penix Jr. than whatever they had with Kirk Cousins last year. So Bijan Robinson entering year 3 definitely has a strong case. Next up, Jahmyr Gibbs. Last year, 302 total touches, 1,900 total yards, and 20 touchdowns. Very close to what we're looking for from the overall RB1. And I know a lot of people are drafting him as if he's going to potentially be the overall RB1. But look at his numbers with Montgomery last year. He was only on pace for 277 touches, 1,736 yards, and 17 touchdowns. Look, those are fantastic numbers. You're going to take that. But those aren't the overall RB1 numbers. So I'm still going to put his chances as good. I think they're good. Not quite as high as the other two. But of course, with Monty there, I think that does limit him. If Montgomery was out of the picture, I might say he's got the best chance of anybody. But with Montgomery there, I can only put his chances at good. Next up, we got Christian McCaffrey, and I'm not going to give you his last season stats, but you look at it in the 4 seasons where he's played at least 16 games, he's been the RB1 or RB2 every single one of these years. Now, of course, the question here is, can he stay healthy this year, and how much juice does he have left? But we know if he is fully healthy and he does have juice left, this guy absolutely could be the RB1. But because of the question marks surrounding those things, again, I'm going to kind of put him in that tier with Jahmyr Gibbs. I think his chances are good, but I can't say they're strong because there is risk that he misses just too many games. Next up, we got rookie Ashton Jeanty. I think he's going to get to that 300 touch mark. He's probably going to rack up a decent amount of yards. I don't know if he can get 2,000 scrimmage yards, but a good amount. But I think the big question mark here is touchdowns. Yes, look, the Raiders are going to be a better offense in 2025. They got Geno Smith, they got Pete Carroll. They're just going to be better. But are they going to be good enough to get him close to that 20 touchdown range as a rookie? I have my doubts. So as much as I like Jeanty, and I think he's going to be great, I think if you draft Jeanty, you're going to feel just fine with it. His chances of finishing as a top scoring running back as a rookie, I'm going to put that at just average. Then we move on to the unicorn, Derrick Henry. Somehow last year at 30 years old, 344 touches, 2,100 total yards, and 18 touchdowns. Again, these are numbers that could be good enough to be the overall RB1. What limits him here is only 19 catches last year. You need at least like 40 catches to give you that ceiling to push you to that, overall RB1 status, and he just can't get it. But still, we know the touches are going to be there. We know the touchdowns are going to be there. And look, this guy has showed no signs of really slowing down. So I can't say he's very strong like the first two we talked about, but I got to also put him in the good tier, and I definitely got to put him in there as one of the contenders. Right behind him, we see Devon Achane. Now, last year, only 281 touches, 1,500 scrimmage yards, and 12 touchdowns. Not even close to being the overall RB1. But look at him in the 9 games he played with Tua. 329 touch pace, 1,800 yard pace, and a 17 touchdown pace. And Jonnu Smith, who was second on the team in targets, is now gone. So that's opening up even more targets. We could see this guy go over 100 catches this year if Tua stays healthy. That's the big if here. Tua's got to stay healthy. But look, last year going into the season, everybody said if Joe Burrow stays healthy, this is what the Bengals could do offensively, and he stayed healthy. If Tua stays healthy, Devon Achane absolutely could smash. But with the risk of Tua, again, I can't put him in that very strong tier, but I am going to put him in that good tier, and he's definitely also a contender. Now we get to Jonathan Taylor, who just is underrated every year. But look, last year, 331 touches, 1,600 total yards, and 12 touchdowns. And he did it in only 14 games, and he did it with horrible quarterbacks. I know he's got horrible quarterbacks again, but does it really matter? This guy is an elite talent. If he plays 17 games, he certainly has the upside to be the RB1. We've already seen him be the RB1, but there is still, the risk here that it is a bad offense. And again, not quite to the level of Henry. He doesn't catch a ton of passes. So I do think he's a contender. I think he's one of those guys who has a chance. But again, I can only put him in the good tier. Now to everybody's favorite second-year running back, Bucky Irving. Last year, just 254 touches, did have 1,500 total yards, but only 8 touchdowns. And that's the issue here is he going to get enough touches and, more importantly, enough touchdowns to be the overall RB1? I mean, he would need to make a massive year 2 leap. Rachaad White is still there. The defense probably going to put him in negative game script a lot. So I have my doubts that he can make that kind of leap. I think Bucky Irving is fine this year. I think he'll be good. But the overall RB1, that feels like a stretch. I'm going to say below average chance for Bucky Irving. Next up, Josh Jacobs, 337 touches last year, 1,600 total yards, and 16 touchdowns. Great season. Again, very close to potential overall RB1 numbers. But my issue is, how is he going to get significantly better than this? I mean, he needs to get another 300-400 yards this year, another 2 or 3 touchdowns. That's a big ask for a guy coming off a great season. I love Josh Jacobs in drafts this year. I think he's a good value. I would have no problem drafting Josh Jacobs, but expecting him to be the overall RB1 feels like a stretch. I'm again going to say below average, only because it's like, how does he get better? Now, one of last year's surprise breakout running backs was Chase Brown, had 283 total touches, 1,300 total yards, and 11 touchdowns. But you look at it from week 9 on, when Zach Moss was out of the picture and he was a starter, he was on a pace of 383 touches, 1,800 total yards, and 13 touchdowns. But there, to me, is the issue. The Bengals just don't run the ball enough near the goal line. They throw the ball a ton near the goal line, which limits his touchdown upside. Now, look, I think he's going to be a workhorse all season long. I could see him getting well over 300 touches. I could see him going maybe close to 2,000 scrimmage yards. But can he get close to 20, even 15 touchdowns in an offense that just wants to throw the ball when they get near the goal line? There I have my doubts. So I think Chase Brown has at least an average chance of doing it, but I can't put it higher than that. Then rounding out the top 12 is Kyren Williams. 350 touches last year, 1,500 total yards, and 16 touchdowns. But kind of like Josh Jacobs, how does he go up from here? We've seen it 2 years in a row. He's going to get the touches. The touchdowns are possible, but how is he going to get close to that 2,000 scrimmage yards, catch a ton of passes, get a ton of receiving yards? He's not, right? He's going to be very good, very solid for fantasy, but when we're talking about the highest scoring running back, that feels like a stretch. I'm going to say below average for Kyren Williams. And then I said that I was going to do a 13th running back because I think we do need to talk about him, and that is Breece Hall. Breece Hall, very polarizing. Obviously, when you look at it last year, 266 total touches, 1,300 total yards, 8 touchdowns. That's not going to come anywhere close to being the overall RB1. Now we're hearing new head coach Aaron Glenn talking about a committee, even talking up Isaiah Davis. If that's the case, he's got no chance of finishing as the RB1. But if this is all smoke and he's going to be the guy and get all the touches or most of the touches here, We know this guy has the talent to be the RB1 overall. I can't put him in with the contenders because there's too much risk that he's in a committee here. I'm going to say average chance of finishing as the overall RB1, but this is more like 50-50. If he gets all the touches, yeah, he's got a chance. If he's in a committee, no chance. All right, so that leaves our contenders as Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, and Jonathan Taylor. But as we know, there can only be one. There is only one RB1 every season. Only one of these guys are going to do it. And the guy I think is going to do it this year is Bijan Robinson. Again, entering his prime, one of the most talented running backs in a situation where the opportunity is there, chances to score touchdowns. Would it shock anybody if this guy had 2,000 total yards and 20 touchdowns this year? Not to mention 60, 70 receptions. Yeah, wouldn't shock me either. Bijan Robinson, my pick to be the overall RB1 in 2025. But look, only one team in your league is going to get Bijan Robinson, and it might not be you. So you got to be ready to pivot and do whatever you got to do to dominate this year. But don't worry, we got you covered. Everything you need in our 2025 playlist, you can find it right here.